Hi, we are back to our course. We are studying this study in E minor by Mauro Giuliani. First of all, you can see clearly that this study is about arpeggios. When you have a study which the main aspect is arpeggios, you must be sure this is a study about the tonal system, about tonalism. And the harmonic functions is probably the main character, the main aspect to show during your performance. One more thing to notice is the composer himself, Mauro Giuliani. He lived in an era which most of historians classify him as a classic composer. He did live in the late 18th century, but in also the early 19th century. But he got in touch, he was friends, he shared the living room with some of the very early romantic composers like Beethoven or Schubert. So I get the feeling that Mr. Giuliani was somehow inspired by also the music that he was hearing from the other composers that he shared the concert halls with, or the palace halls with those guys. And I see that although I still agree that Mauro Giuliani is a classical composer, his music has some characteristics that put us in doubt whether he's 100% pure classical composer or he has some romantic elements in his music. This study is one of those cases, so I did play it, as you can watch my performance in the link on the description below. I did play it a little bit like a romantic piece, making variations in agogic, in how I distribute the elements in the timeline. That's what agogic means. And I made those changes in a way that's more proper to the romanticism than to the classicism. You can play it a little bit more square if you prefer, that's fine. But let's talk about the harmony as well. Let's start from the beginning. We have the tonic, E minor, then we go to the dominant. Well, but what about this E? Well, this is a pedal tone. Like pedal tones, for harmonic analysis, you ignore that piece and you focus on what is changing in the new events. And pedal notes, which are just sustained notes, you kind of put it in second degree. However, if you want a more precise, academical, pure analysis of the harmony, you can consider which interval this pedal tone makes according to the fundamental note, the root note. But for us interpreters, that's not the key issue here. What we need to know is that we have release, tonic, then tension, dominant, and release once more. That's what's matter for us, okay? So I already said it's the tonic here. Then this chord is a little bit hard to analyze because it has some notes that can be considered the dominant, but it lacks notes to be a complete tonic. But it also can be considered a dominant of the subdominant. So if you want to be more precise or more academical, the dominant of the subdominant must be your preferred choice. Whichever option you decide, there's a tritone here. So this 3 tones interval, therefore it's a tension chord. No matter how you classify it, it's tension. And then we have, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, then we have, I'm sorry. I made a confusion. This, you wouldn't be decide not to be as the dominant of the subdominant. Sorry, I made a confusion. This is the dominant of the subdominant. This would be the dominant of the tonic relative. So it would be considered this as a D major 7th chord without the D. And because it's a D, it will be a dominant to a chord which its root would be G. And the G chord that is part of the tonality is the D major chord, which is the tonic relative. So that would be the tonic of the dominant relative. But you can also be considered, because the dominant is B, D sharp, we don't have any D, we don't have any B, F sharp, A, and you can add the 9th. So you can consider that also the dominant of the tonic, the dominant. That's on you. Then we have the dominant of the subdominant. Then we have really the dominant of the subdominant, E major 7th. Then the subdominant, which is the release of that tension built. The tonic once more. Then we have the dominant again, still the dominant. Then tonic, subdominant. Although it has the 7th, there is no tritone, so you can consider this 7th an embellishment or even a dissonance of the chord, but it's still not tense enough. It's a subdominant, however, only the subdominant. Then the tonic, or you can consider the dominant with 6th and 4th, then dominant with only the 4th, dominant, tonic, and then we have an arpeggio of tonic until the end. This is a coda, and the notes that are added are all notes that belong to the E minor chord, E, G, and B. Nice. So, about interpretation, we have 3 possibilities how to shape those arpeggios. You can shape it considering this as a classical piece. You can consider it very square classical work, so you have to play it a little bit more square in the tempo, and also shape the dynamics in a stairway, kind of in a staircase fashion. So we begin at the tonic, so it's release. Then we go to the dominant, which is tension, and you move at once from release to tension and back to release. So it would sound like. More square and changing dynamics according to the change of harmonies. But you can consider this as a piece with romantic characteristics, and then you can shape away to the tension and then shape away back to the release. It would be something like it sounds more like a living thing. You can also shape according to enhancing the function of each chord. So the first chord is release. So for each tempo, for each repetition of the arpeggio, you play more released, more relaxed. And the second chord, which is tension, for each repetition you intensify the tension. That would sound like what's the best way? Whichever you feel like playing. And I ask you to explore these possibilities so you can record yourself and hear yourself which one you feel is best, sounds best according to you, or which would be even better if you master all three or at least two of those possibilities, and according to how you feel, you play them differently. If you feel like showing some emotion which is more clear to display, playing more square, you play so. And in a different day, when you are in a different mood and you want to communicate a different emotion, you play more with rubato and changes of dynamics that allow you to express yourself more. And that's what musical interpretation is about. It is a means of communication. Music is a language, and as a performer, your role in this communication is to tell people the emotion you feel with music. So it must be able to change, to adapt to what you would like to express to people. Okay, you are supposed to be here if you have played the guitar at least 2 or 3 years before. So it's time for us to touch those philosophical and aesthetical issues here more than the technical ones. But we have some technical issues to deal with. I'm going straight to the second session of the piece because there is more clear to show some of the ideas that when you learn here you can apply to the first section as well. I know you are smart enough to understand which are the situations on the first section that feature the same things and you can use them. Okay, so the second section begins when we are back to this E minor chord in measure 11, and in measure 13 we have a very interesting feature to understand technically. When we reach measure 13, because of what we were playing before, it's easier to play the B with finger number 2. But because of what we are going to play after, which is a capo, a barré on the second string, it would be easier if we finish that chord playing the B with the first finger. And we play that B 4 times. So 2, 3, 4. You can enjoy those repetitions to change the fingering. We can change it in 2 ways. You can, when a new attack of the note comes, you play as if it were a very new note. So you take off finger 2 and then you put the finger 1 down. Or you can do a little trick here. You play 2, you be with finger 2, you press finger 1 before the fret and you still have the sound. Just bear in mind that because finger 1 will be more far to the fret, you need to press a little bit harder. But once you are here with finger 1 in the correct fret, on the next repetition you just move a little bit closer to the fret and you're back to playing relaxed. And that's it. very easy to do. Other trick that you can use is, especially this last part, which you have those arpeggios if with E minor, is when we have a note on the 12th fret, the sound of the note, especially if you have other things happening at the same time, is not so different from the plucked note to the harmonic. It is different, and for our guitarist ears, what I'm saying sounds, like I'm saying a heresy. However, for layman ears, for your audience ears, it will sound close enough as the same thing. But there is a major difference here. When you're playing a plucked note, you have to press the note down and hold your finger until the end of the note. In a harmonic, you just touch lightly the string and you have your hand free to do whatever you want, and the note is still sounding. So that makes easier making changes, especially when you are playing here the B, then you are up back to the E, and then you have to play the G. It can be interesting for you if you have some deadline, if you have to play for someone very fast, if you just play the harmonic and prepare more calmly to change to the D. You can even play more, preparing also for the E that's going down. But of course, this is a study, so I'm not saying that you should play every time doing this trick. Because this study, you should enjoy this opportunity to learn this skill to make very fast changes. However, sometimes we have to operate in deadlines, and this is a way to make it more possible to fit your deadlines properly. One little trick more about changes and shifts, pay attention. Look not to where your hand is, look to where your hand will be. So I'm here playing the B, but I'm not looking at the 7th fret, I'm looking at the 12th fret. Then I have to play the 3rd fret. I'm looking to the 3rd fret, not to where I'm playing. This prepares us a lot more to make our shifts easier. Okay? A little trick. One more little trick that I want to tell you. When we had this change of harmony from measure 8 to 9, pay attention that we are in this finger shape, and then we have to play the very same shape, but one position up and one string down, but it's very same shape. Especially because the same shape, we can feel tempted to try to move 3 fingers together, and it makes more difficult. Just hold the shift together a little bit. You can hold it in the air, you don't need to hold it on the strings, and then move one finger first, and then the others fingers will go if you don't mess with the shape. You just release from the string, but it's still in the same position. You see the fingertip of the fingertips a little bit down, and the finger 1, then you go with the 3rd finger to the new position, and you have time to reach with the different fingers. And because it's not all notes at the same time, you play first F sharp and then the others. You can even rest a little on this low F sharp, and then you can go. Thanks a lot. Have fun with this Amazing Study by Mauro Giuliani.